I was just watching Jim Cornette, listening to his podcast with Brian Lass, and I was reading one of these guys' comments. It looks like a few bricks short of a Happy Meal, and his comment was basically, "Oh, please, we need your opinion on this shit, like you need to call a match." Well, sounds like he didn't agree with Jim, so I'm going to tell you why I agree with Jim Cornette. Because as he was pointing out, women, and especially back when I was watching the wrestling and kept up with it, and the women were very scarce in the wrestling business. I mean, if you heard a glow or anything, and even in the AWA and some of the other, WCW had a woman's title for a short while back in the mid '90s or something like that, and TNA had a woman's title and still does. Um, but a lot of these organizations, just like when you look at the overall quality of the women, how many? Let's just play devil's advocate here for a minute, and let's say let's say you're somebody who may have grown up during the era of Moolah and Mae Young and all the old timers, the Judy Grables, the Lonnie Kais of the business, amongst others. They were really tough women. And like I said, this is back in the 40s, 50s, and so on. They didn't have, you know, to be convinced of anything. They knew they wanted to be wrestlers. Men actually beat these girls up trying to talk them out of being a wrestler. But a lot of these women wasn't going to be deterred. Wasn't going to told, hey, you go home. These men that trained these women tried to slam them as hard as they could or do whatever they could to try to talk them out of it. Some of these like Moolah and Mae Young were just determined to be wrestlers, and many of the others. But they back then, and to have a career in wrestling, and you wonder why the first woman to be inducted into the WWF, now WWE Hall of Fame, was not Mae Young, but Fabulous Moolah. Well, because she is one of the very few. And now the list has gotten just a tad bit bigger, but it's still nowhere near the amount of men. The longevity of a woman, even nowadays, is very rare. You don't see, every once in a while, you come across a Victoria, a Gail Kim, a Mickey James, and Charlotte Flair. No matter how I feel about the women, as far as they're outside the ring and how nice they are, or how they come across to fans, or whether this was the real her, or if you've seen them on Twitter or Facebook. I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is WWE and all these companies, they have these people's numbers, and they do have them under contract. And a woman before, even before the Attitude Era, a woman even still today is looked at as an eye candy. A large portion of these, such as Alexa Bliss, who's not even barely 5 feet and probably barely 90 pounds, if that. and she goes out there and and wrestles for 2 or 3 years at best, and then has 3 or 4 or 5 years in NXT, and then thinks, you know, and of course Vince at the time pushes her when he brings her up to the main roster, like, you know, and she largely has, not done nothing in the last 3 years, almost 3 years. And I had this one texting me and my wife on this hangout claiming to be her, and she's going and telling me, oh, she's, that she's a real thing and all this stuff. And uh, I put a video out about that. But anyway, just to sum this up, I mean, the women's careers naturally don't last long. I mean, forever Sunny and Sable, you find a good nut every once in a while, like a Molly Holly, a Trish Stratus, Ivory, Jacqueline, you know, um, like I said, Sasha, Bailey, Becky Lynch. I mean, there's several. I mean, like I said, there's more now in recent memory in the last 5 or 10 years. But a large portion of these, Michelle McCool was one of the few that stayed on the roster for a little while. Beth Phoenix, stayed on the roster probably 4 years. Michelle McCool probably managed and wrestled for at least 6 to 7 years. So, problem with a woman is what I talk about a lot of the times. They can't keep their legs shut, and if they do get pregnant, then there you go. You have to, it's like Jim Cornette always said, that's why Natalia and some of the others that stay on the roster for a long time, they have this in their heart. They have this in their blood. It's not just a thing to do for a year or two and then go find somebody to stick their thing in and let them stick them in their, private area and get them pregnant, and then they go off. And that's what old Ronda's doing right now. Old Ronda Rousey, she's going to wrestle for another year or a year and a half, whatever her deal is, and then she's going to go back home and have another. So she's only doing it just as a side project because she didn't like getting beat up in the UFC. Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these, like Sunny, Sable, and a bunch of these, they were only in it for the looks, the Playboy magazines, and the whole 9 yards. And it's like I said, these women, they're like that's why they get hired. That's why the Bella Twins got hired. I mean, we could go on and on and on. And the Bella Twins, to their credit, though, they did stay in WWE for a long time. They weren't just overnight deals or just a couple of years. You actually got a lot of their, time, and they stayed in there. And but I agree with Jim. The women can't bump like the men. They can't. Their bodies aren't designed to be taking all these beatings and all that stuff, and thumbtacks and chairs and tables and the whole 9 yards. I mean, women's bodies were designed for certain things, and this is not me being, sexist or anything. It's just they are making sense. And women, and that's probably why, like I said, a lot of sports don't want these women in football and baseball and things like that, because then you probably, unless you came up with their own football league, pro league, or and like MLB, unless they cared enough about wanting a woman to play actual baseball, then you'd have to find women who want to do it. And I just don't think in this day and age you might get a woman to coach, but you probably never see a woman in Major League Baseball actually play in Major League Baseball game. Just the same as the wrestling. The wrestling too. It's you gotta want to be touched. You gotta want to be in there and actually perform this stuff. And you gotta trust the people you're in. For every woman that's like an Alexa Bliss and so on that I've named, you get ones like Nia Jax and China and, like I said, some of the tough ones, Jacqueline, and they look good, and some of these do in their own way. And I'm sure some of them likes old Dewdrop out there. Or I call her Boob Drop, Tit Drop, or anything I can think of. But she, again, because I think that wrestling name is just stupid. But again, and Tamina Snuka, and a bunch of these. I mean, like I said, you would have on a roster probably, if you want to go back to the '90s, you might have 5 to 10 women on a roster, to where you'll have 60, 70 guys on a main roster, probably right there. That's why I was thinking all these things like the tag team titles for the women, you can't have but about 20 to 30 women on a roster. That's why when the WWE was bringing back the was going to let them do a Royal Rumble for the first time in 2018, I was like, this is going to be filled up with all kinds of legends, like Lita, Trish, the Bella Twins. I counted up to about half of that. Half of the field was nothing but legends. All the ones that come before them. They stooped so low that first year, and they brought back old Vicky Guerrero of all people. And one year they brought back Santino as Santina, a guy dressed in a lady's drag. So again, and like I said, I like some women, but again, the women aren't supposed to be. I know they want to be considered equal to the men, but they always will be a step below because of their natural body type. There's a reason why there's cheerleading for women and certain events for women in certain sports that they can do that better fits them. I mean, I can understand basketball and certain things, but that's why I like women. If they play football, they want to play the flag football. They won't play the tackle. A good majority of them don't want to mess up their looks, or don't want to get their leg hurt, or don't want to get something hurt. And I can understand that. That's why I said you won't see men going out there unless they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, unless they're, and most women, I can speak for most, or probably 90-something% of them. You'll see some of them that wants to look muscled and all that, but they don't want to look that way. I mean, my mama had a little bit of muscle to her, but she wasn't like, built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But for a woman, my mama looked pretty good at one time. But yeah, I just thought, man, this would be kind of a subject to kind of come at. And like I said, if women naturally, the problem is too, they they're not main eventers. A lot of them aren't. I mean, I could see, every now and again, if you want to throw a surprise in there, and if you had some that really could work, and really like Charlotte and Becky and Sasha, and some of them, you know, but everybody's going to look at them as eye candy, and more so on the men's side. The women, it may be more about their athleticism and their, and all that. Now, I'm not saying I'm like that. I'm just saying that it does help their case of getting hired on, and it does, you know, uh, affect a woman's place in getting a job much easier than it would be for a guy. The guy may get the more, uh, or does a lot of times get the more heavier stuff, and the more, they get, you ain't gonna see a woman doing a garbage truck, job, or construction, or, they're just, it's just life, there's going to be jobs out there that women do more than the guys, and guys are going to be in certain areas. I mean, this is why that, like I say, the clothes, and it just, I mean, it don't end there. I mean, the colors, and that's it's made that way. That's the way the world's, that's the way, we're made. We're made. Man's made for certain things. Women are made for certain things, and I'm not knocking them. Women want to have kids, but that's why they don't last that long in pro sports. You have to want it bad enough and not want to have an actual family to, to pursue your goal. If your goal is to be out in sports, entertainment, or some type of venture, you got to dedicate your whole career to it. But a lot of people wants kids, So I mean, this is for wrestling and all sports. It's not me being biased. This is just, me. I've been a wrestling fan. I've watched women on TV and stuff, but it's consuming. It's women. They get into these habits, and some of them that don't even get famous are out trying to get, you know. And then when you see them end up on these TV talk shows, like I said, you can watch the TV talk shows, and they're always ending up doing something on these TV talk shows, and that's why I said, but women, it's a different breed. It's different. Uh, Times are changing. Like I said, there's some, some things they've got a mixed martial arts thing now for some of the women that want to try and do that, and there's some that do. I mean, you'll see them. There's boxing. There's all kinds of sports, but I mean, like I said, even NASCAR's had a few women drivers, but I promise you, unless football and Major League Baseball implement a women's only division and somehow have an alternate league that they could do during their off season, or somehow present it in a way that would attract, and I don't know whether MLB would ever consider, letting a woman, or football for that matter. Could you imagine these 300-pound guys, 275-pound guys, these big guys? The first thing that a woman will do is get hurt out there. Then she'll be wanting to probably sue somebody, because, I mean, they ain't going to be nice. This ain't going to be, it took UFC forever. If you think about it, UFC wasn't on board with having a woman's league. It's just not, women they ain't built for physicality. They're not fragile, but they're not, they're also not, their bodies aren't made for, to be, that kind of thing. It's just, they're made to be, most of them, I mean, with the exception of a few of them, they're mostly made for an attraction, with the eyeballs of mostly men. Some ladies might say, something, like I said, there's all kind of things for a woman to be good at that men don't have to worry about. Men go do other things, and they get on to us for being sports. Well, these women out there doing sports too, and so I mean, if we're picked on for, I'm not a big sports fan, but I like baseball, but or shooting basketball. I like playing sports more than I do watching. But I'm a big baseball fan. I used to like old NASCAR and old boxing and old stuff like that, when I was growing up. But no, I can see, that, these guys, they don't and it's like I said, a lot of people, they don't listen. They just pick out one thing here and one thing there, and, but no, that's why in any sport, in any genre, you only get so much of a woman's time, and they're just constantly exploring other options. It's like when I worked at Hardee's, I was like, my goodness, it's like every other time you turn around, a new shipment of people would come in, and it's like, oh, here's two or three more. Something would come up, and you'd see, it's like a revolving door. So again, it's like I said, though, you do find rare finds out there, and and like I said, my wife knows I ain't trying to be hurtful or anything toward them, but there is a good reason why they don't get in certain things. There was like I said, the military. I don't think even the military let women do it for a long time. I think it was like the 80s or something, 70s. I don't remember. Whenever the women's thing. And if you think that's bad, just think women. I don't think we're allowed to vote for so many years up till a certain time either. I mean, things have improved. So, I mean, it could be a lot worse, and a lot of this stuff could be still happening today if it wasn't for, some support from other people, and, the whole slavery issue and the stuff with women. But, that's why I've always said and made videos. I said, women doesn't always have to do exactly what their mamas did. And, I'm sure they had dreams about being a mom, or you thought it was a cool thing, and everything. And it probably is to a lot of them, but it also takes away from you getting to live out your dream. The males don't really have to worry about it. They can just put their, thing in there and still go out and go to work the next day. Or if a woman's on the other end, they have to go through all this paternity leave, and they have to be gone for a while, and especially in sports or wrestling, it takes them over a year to come back. In certain jobs, they don't have to worry about that. They can do it from home if they have to, I guess, some jobs. But, it is. It's just the way we're made. It's the way we're built. And, but I don't see some of these things changing. I could be wrong, and it could, like I said, but if the only way I see anything is like the NBA did. They made a woman's all women's league. Golf's done it. Soccer's done it. A bunch of UFC's done it now. Boxing. But like I said, baseball and football, NFL and MLB, I just don't know if that's ever going to be the case. That would be a tough even if you found a woman that was pretty good size and heavy, I don't know. I mean, but I mean, if you found a woman that actually could go out there. I remember seeing on TV or somewhere a few years back a woman trying out to be a punter for a team that made news, but she didn't kick it, far enough. And she tried out to be a punter. I don't remember what her name was, but there was a few years ago that was a big story. But as far as MLB or even football, like I said, I think we'll be lucky if they get coaches, to be females or something. But I think MLB, if I remember right, MLB's now started to, to get coaches and stuff in. They did lift the ban in 1992. Originally, MLB didn't have women's stuff, as I said before. They wouldn't allow them to participate. I mean, they'd allow them in the audience to be, to watch the games, but they wouldn't allow them on the field or anything really, unless it's a male player that, was a player, Hall of Famer or something, and they were accepted on behalf of their husband or something, you know. Sometimes you'll see a woman out there throw a first pitch or something, but they're not, you know. But yeah, it's just I believe there are always going to be one or two things, uh, that especially for football and the baseball and pro areas. I think they're going unless they come up with a woman's only league, pro league for them, like the WNBA and all these others. I mean, hockey too. Hockey. I don't think women play hockey. So, there's tennis that they play, but like I said, it's different. I mean, and a lot of times hockey, it's fighting and stuff too. So I mean, that's what I worry about, the women not being able to, be out there when there's a fight breaks out. Sometimes benches clear in baseball and football player. That's when I worry about stuff going down. As it does happen. Luckily for me, the team I watch, the Braves, it don't normally happen. Most of the time when I'm watching other teams, it don't happen. But occasionally you'll see them argue the call or something. But yeah, I'm just being fair about it. But yeah, I don't see, the reason for a woman to be too upset, or any males that see this video. It's like I said, I felt like that was an important topic, and I felt like hey, it'd be something to kind of comment on and put your thoughts into. But I'm a big component for women, and like I said, it's just I think it'd be easier for them to to be glad for what they do got now. Like I said, they so about 11 years ago, there wasn't no such thing for a woman in the UFC. There wasn't no coaches on the field in Major League Baseball. So they are making some progress. And like I said, the wrestling in recent years, the WWE and all these other organizations, they're coming out with, stuff. But, I'm trying to do better, trying to present women's wrestling better, trying to do things, trying to make them trying as best as they can. Like I said, most women ain't very tall, ain't built, very big. It's hard. I mean, when you're made a certain way and you're made to be, there's certain tasks and certain things that, just meant for a man to do. I can't do a whole lot myself, as far as lifting and stuff, but I have, certain things wrong with me that prevents me from lifting a lot. But, I can still go out there and do some stuff, do things, but yeah, I'm just saying it, but I agree with Jim Cornette and Brian Last. It's not it's not the end of the world if there's never a woman that breaks the color barrier in baseball, or if there's a white woman that plays. It doesn't matter. Or like I said, the president of the United States, there's never been a woman, but there's going to be a time that probably will happen. Presidents. For one thing, it's something that's not physical. It's not like it's going to be a fight. You may have some verbal disagreements, but you never have to worry about anybody getting hit. The only thing I worry about, some Looney Tune shooting somebody. Of course, if there's a woman president, I'm sure they'd have security out the hiney even more so than they do for the guys, as they don't want to take a chance on any woman, getting hit or fights breaking out, rallies. Just to illustrate that Donald Trump mess that happened a couple of years ago, that he incited. So if he kept his mouth shut, everything had been fine if he'd quit tweeting. But anyway, like I said, though, I agree with, I'm like I said, I like women like most people do, but a lot of women don't like my way of looking at things. I've had some that's been up here in this local area in Decatur, Tennessee, and they've not been too favorable. My wife's tried me. Like I said, we've had this thing open for a while for our, unicorn thing, but it's going to take somebody that just ain't got nothing going on, but knows, if they want this, Nah, like I told my wife, we can't sit here and honestly guarantee it that'll happen, but it is what it is. But anyway, I'm just going to give my thoughts on a couple of things here. And before the Braves come on, we play at 3:00, and and the wife's talking about baseball. The Braves, I guess, came on 37, but I didn't see it. I looked. And I thought, and apparently they did come on because they had the replay on. They had the regular announcers, so they came on channel 37 as well. I don't know if some of you people caught that or not, but I saw it on TBS is where I originally saw it because that was the last thing I checked. And for one thing, I'm sitting at an angle, so if I'm not over directly on the TV side of things, I can't really see that good. I can see the TV, but it's sitting on the side. So when the guide's up, it's hard to kind of see that guide with the way the print is out there when you're sitting at an angle. So anyway, I got to watch this morning. We won 3-1, and we beat the Dodgers last night. We almost had a perfect game, or sniff at a perfect game. It got ended after it got broken up after about the 6th inning, going into the 7th. But the Braves aren't that lucky at that kind of thing. It happens usually for every other team. We have a combined no-hitter, I think, back in 93 or 94, or whatever it was, with Kent Merker and a couple other pitchers kept it going, and we won that game and got a no-hitter that way, but not a single person has just come out there and went 9 innings, And, but anyway, anyway, I'm going to get off here, but hopefully everybody has a good day.